Thank you. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Good evening, everyone. This is February 6th, Tuesday, the monthly Planning Commission meeting for the City of North Miami. Welcome, everybody, and I hope everyone's enjoying a nice, cool evening. I now call the meeting to order. May we have roll call, please, Madam Secretary?
Good evening, everyone. Chairman Charles Ernst,
Present?
Vice Chair McDermott. Present. Commissioner Blemire is excused. Commissioner Seafried,
Present.
Commissioner Each,
Present.
Commissioner Clark is excused. Commissioner Bob is also excused. Commissioner Benson. Present. Thank you, gentlemen. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much.
You do the pledge,
Staff, do we have any amendments to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, no.
Thank you. And this time I'll go ahead and call for the approval of the minutes.
Second.
So moved by Mr. McDermott, seconded by Mr. Seifried. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meetings have been approved. Minutes have been approved. And Madam Secretary, I've signed it. Here you are, ma'am. You're welcome.
Yeah, we've forgotten the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, we have. So at this point, let's go ahead and stand up for that. Thank you, Mr. Seifried, for reminding me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And so we'll continue. My apologies for the oversight. Communications, the next meeting, staff, March 5th, is that correct,
That is correct,
Mr.
Mr. Chair.
Director? Thank you. Continued public hearings. Any continued public hearings?
No, sir.
Thank you. And at this point, we'll go ahead and move to the public hearing section. Before I do that, Ms. Love, would you like to have the floor to discuss tonight's agenda and what we have in store?
Well, I'm not going to discuss necessarily your agenda, but I do want to say thank you very much. Since 2018, I've had the pleasure of serving as your liaison, and I'm now the Development Services Director, and Mr. Cook is going to be your liaison. I know you're in good hands. It has been a sincere pleasure to work with each one of you. You're very intelligent. You're very knowledgeable about our code and about our city, and it has been most, how do I say this? It's been illuminating to me to have such a great board that has challenged me throughout the years and has supported staff. And I'm a little emotional, and I really appreciate having had that opportunity. With that, I'm going to leave you in Mr. Cook's good hands, and I'll be watching, though. Thank
Well,
you.
Debbie, thank you so much for the years that we've worked together. I know you've been a great shepherd for so much and a great person to advise us, make sure we're going in the right directions and staying within the lines and not wandering too far out of the envelope. We greatly appreciate that. And I know you won't be too far over away from us over in City Hall, but you know, we look forward to working with Mr. Cook and having him help us and guide us now through the next phase of the growth of this magnificent city, which we all love very much and want to see it continue to thrive.
Here, here.
So,
With that, I'll turn it back over to you, sir. Thank you for allowing me to speak for a moment.
You know, Debbie,
Thank
before
you.
you show off there, you
Yes,
want
sir.
to give us an overview of your new position, but I'd like to say, you know, working with you over the years, and I've been in this game a long time, since about 1965, and in government, and I don't know how many years in municipal government up in Illinois and here. But I want you to know, I met a lot of people. They come and they go. But you're the consummate professional. If we could clone every person in government like you, we'd have the most effective, dynamic, excellent government we could possibly have. I want to thank you for all your years of service. You are absolutely the best. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. I
Here, here.
appreciate that.
And I second that, Debbie.
Thank you,
I
Vice
think-
Chair. Appreciate that. And with that,
Well, Debbie, what is your new
oh, you want to
position?
know what
Yes, we
oh,
wanna
I'm
know
so
what your-
sorry.
Yes, tell us.
Okay, well, the city merged the building department and community planning and development together into a new department. It's called Development Services Department. Mr. Cook still oversees what is now known as, CP&D is now known as the Office of Land Use Services. Vicky Santos is the Assistant Director for Operations for what is known as the Office of Building Services. So I have the privilege of overseeing the consolidation of those departments and trying to streamline it, make it more, make it customer friendly, and change the dynamic of how our community's dealings in both the building side as well as community land use services. Thank goodness we have Mr. Cook still leading that charge in that department, and I'm honored to still have him working with us. So that's what I'm doing, and it occupies quite a bit of my time. So that's why Mr. Cook is going to be working with you instead of me. Thank you. You guys have a good night, and I will not be far. And if Mr. Cook needs anything from me, we're just down the hallway from one another, and you all can still reach out to me, but primarily he'll be your contact person.
Great.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Thank
Debbie.
you,
Thank you
Debbie.
so much, again. And keep in touch with us. Don't forget the Christmas cards and,
Yeah.
and birthdays. Thank you. Bye-bye. So, Mr. Cook, I'll pick up the meeting now at the portion for public hearing. Mr. Held, is this a quasi-judicial proceeding?
No, both items are legislative, so I won't be giving the quasi-judicial hearing.
Thank you very
procedure
much.
summary. Thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and read the first public hearing into the record. It is PC 17-82. This is an ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending the official 2036 future land use map to extend the boundary of the planned corridor development overlay district southward over 3 parcels of real properties located at 12290 Northeast 6th Avenue, 12280 Northeast 6th Avenue, and 540 Northeast 123rd Street, with Miami-Dade County portfolio numbers 06-2230-031-0020, folios numbers 06-2230-031-0030, and folio number 06-2030-031-0010, totaling approximately 0.68 acres. In accordance with Section 163-3184, Section 163-3187, Section 166.041, parentheses 3, Section C, Florida Statutes 2023, and Article 3 entitled Development Review, Division 3, Section 3-302, Sections 3-1104 through 3-1107, Section 3-1109, and Section 3-1110 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulations. May we have staff report, sir?
Good evening, Commissioners. This is Derek Cook, the Assistant Director for the Department of Development Services, Land Use Services. Before I start, I would like to echo what each of you said about Ms. Love and her consummate as a professional, her knowledge, her understanding, of events, and her guidance is well welcomed in her new job. As for me, thank you for your welcome. As you know, I cannot replace Ms. Love. I will endeavor to do my best to serve you in the community in this capacity and helping us move forward in our city in this development stage that it's in. Thank you. With that in mind, the item before you is a land use amendment, a future land use map amendment for the properties as stated that are generally located at the southwest corner of Northeast 123rd and Northeast 6th Avenue. As stated by the chairman, the properties are 3 parcels of approximately 0.6 acres. The applicant is looking to extend the overlay district, which is known as the Northeast Avenue Planned Corridor Development Overlay District. As you can see on the map, that demonstrates the location of the properties that are in question. And we have the wrong one up. That's for zoning. So as you can see, as for the future land use amendment, as stated, as an extension of this, it is the planned corridor overlay district, not the North Miami Transit Station overlay district that you see there. The properties in question are located at 5540 Northeast 123rd Street, 12280 Northeast 6th Avenue, 12290 Northeast 6th Avenue. The future land use map is medium density residential. The extension of the PCD will permit greater density and height through the conditional use permit. Specifically, you're looking at a height of 110 feet, and you're looking at a density of 100 units per acre through the conditional use permit process. After this item will require city council approval. It will need a first and second reading. The anticipated first reading will be on March the 13th. The anticipated second reading will be on March the 27th of this year. If so voted on and approved by city council, 10 days after that, this will come in effect for the city. Any questions?
Well, to clarify something, you've indicated what is the maximum allowable, but what's the actual request?
The request is the extension of the overlay district, and with that extension of the overlay district, they are permitted to seek the maximum allowed.
Right, but that's not what they're asking for here, according to their plan.
So what we have before you, Mr. Seaford, is the extension of the overlay district. As it specifically talks about, as they show in their plan, what they intend to do, that is not specific to your request today. That would be germane if they just, when they go through the conditional use permit process, and that item would come before you at that time for you and your members to review.
Reason why that might have been brought up, sir, is that there's probably some question with regards to what we saw from the request of the petitioner, is that he had not planned to build 110 stories, but because there were, and I think there are some feelings in general that that would be a problem should anybody would want to build to that maximum height that was allowed. So I think what Mr. Seifried was trying to indicate to you is such a concern, and it could affect how we decide whether or not we want to allow this extension to take place. So, you know, we're glad to hear from the petitioner, and we may want to discuss further if there's any implications that those plans could change, and anyone within that area that is asking for that extension decide to go higher than what was presented to us, and that we'll probably hear from the petitioner tonight. So, any other questions to the director on that? Yes,
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
yes.
after reviewing it, I think I need to amend my response to your question earlier, and I think we need to treat item number 2 as a quasi-judicial.
Okay, shall we do that when we get to question
Yeah,
number
that's
2?
fine.
And we'll wait, all right.
Okay.
There's nothing in this,
It just
That
means
would be-
swearing witnesses.
certainly.
Yeah.
All right,
Maybe disclosures if there
certainly.
is appropriate.
If I may, Mr. Chair, as you know, the item number 2 is the sister item for this. This is the land use, and they'll be seeking the zoning change. My thought is that I could go through that, and then at that time, the applicant could come up and do his full presentation, so you can have a full, rather than having to see it twice potentially.
Well,
Or you
sure.
want to do it
I
now?
mean, if there's,
It's
if
at
there's
your
anything
discretion,
that the
sir.
petitioner would like to say regarding the map adjustment, that this is strictly to change the overlay map at this point, this one item here, if I'm not mistaken. But if they have anything they want to say in that, you know, I'll go ahead and open up the floor to them if they want to say that. And then if they have anything that they want to address on the second part of it, let's hold off on those comments until we get to that item.
So we're doing them separately?
It seems that's the chair,
Yeah.
the will of the chair.
Yes, I'd like to handle this separately.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Nick Noto with the law firm of Bills in Sundberg. Our office is located at 1450 Brickell Avenue in Miami. I'm joined tonight by Federico Zapata, who is the principal of Botanic Venture LLC, the applicant, as well as my partner, Carter McDowell. Just to provide some quick clarification. So you are right, our project is only proposed at 46 feet. We are not seeking to take advantage of the 110 feet that the PCD overlay would permit. Nor are we seeking to maximize the density that the PCD overlay would permit. However, in order for us to come back to you for that certificate of use permit approval, seeking approval of this project, we first need to extend that overlay both from a land use perspective and a zoning perspective to our site.
Sure.
So that's why there's 2 applications. I think Mr. Cook was saying since they're companion applications, both seeking to extend that PCD overlay to our assemblage. At your discretion, Mr. Chair, we could address both of those items, and then I think your attorney would
Well,
advise you to do separate votes, or we
yes.
can just do one at a
Mr.
time.
Hill, do you see my reasoning here? Because I want to make sure that we're following the way that there's a procedure legally with first granting the request for the extension rather than hearing the second item first, which in some case, it may have in fact probably been all right to hear the first item beforehand, second item.
You can either combine the items or not. There's a slightly separate analysis that goes into
Right.
the 2 applications. And also, if you combine them, we would need to swear everybody in and have you do disclosures before the
Right.
combined item.
No,
So
let's
it-
keep it separate if that's all right with anyone. Does
Yeah, it's
anyone
fine.
on the board have an objection to that? No, then we'll continue. If there's anything else you want to address this particular issue of extending the boundary
Can-
before we get into.
I just want to point out something. If we left the land use the way it is without extending, they could only put 11, am I correct on this? 11 new dwelling units would only go on that property. Is that correct?
So as it's currently zoned,
You could only get 11 on there, I believe, according to what I'm reading.
you would get 28 if we would, so, but for the PCD overlay being extended, we would still be entitled to come before this board and the city council for a conditional use permit
Right.
to ask for additional density bonus of 25 units per acre, which would essentially make this project without the overlay a 28-unit project.
Yeah, and I was on that site today. What I was reading here is 16.3 dwelling units per acre for a grand total of 11 new dwelling units. as it stands right now without that extension, without any, as it is, just bare bones on the base.
So if you look at the, this slide that I'm showing right now to you all, this is the R5 zoning
Right.
districts, the minimum standards. And you can see
I read
the as-of-right density, if you will, in R5 is 16.3 units per acre. The North Miami City Code does allow, via conditional use permit, an applicant to come before you without the PCD overlay and ask for a bonus of 25 units per acre.
Sure.
So for 41.3 units per acre, which would allow this site the 28 units without the applications we're requesting tonight.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Absolutely. Okay.
everybody understand that, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, anything
Mr.
else?
Chair, I have a presentation. I don't know if you want to hear it now or you want
No,
us to
well,
be
let's
sworn
wait.
in.
Let's go ahead and deal with, the question is to go ahead and, we're basically, okaying whether or not we want to extend that overlay district. Now, bear in mind, Mr. Cook, you know, we are aware that, there is, I won't call it a moratorium, but the overlay districts, as I understand it, the NROs are going away. But because this petitioner put in before that decision, we were informed that we could hear his, any petitioner's, plans, prior to that, taking effect, that those overlay districts are going away.
Specific to this, you're correct that the NRO is part of our update of the comp plan and will be eliminated.
Right.
The PCD is not impacted by that update of the comp plan. And when we, as a
Well,
city,
Yeah.
enact zoning in progress, we are looking to do it in such a way that we can still progress
Right.
with things.
Okay.
So his is not, to your question, the NRO is not in any way a part of this application and would not be impacted,
Right.
even if it wasn't available today.
This item was put forth prior to the decision to do away the NRO, correct?
We had made that decision more than a year ago when we started the comp plan update. I don't
But,
believe
yeah,
they
but
submitted the
it
application
was-
before then.
And Mr. Chair, we're not seeking an extension of the NRO to our property. The NRO is not a part of either of these applications. We're simply seeking an extension of the PCD overlay to our assemblage.
Okay, why, I think there's some confusion that I'm having because I think, I don't know if anybody else remembers that we were told that there were certain projects in the pipeline coming before us that had they been done prior to our decision or the city's decision to do away with the NRO, any new applications could not use or request any kind of an extension such as the one that we're looking at tonight. Is that correct, Mr.?
No,
Go ahead, no, you're the expert.
So to your point, Mr. Chair, that is correct that we have applications that were in the pipeline that are specific to the NRO
Right,
that would have been impacted. Let's say if we had got rid of the NRO and they had came in, they would not have, after that fact, they would have not been able to move forward.
right,
But we have some that are already, have started their process,
correct,
and because the NRO technically still exists,
right,
we are able to move forward with those items
Right.
that will be coming before you.
okay,
Specific to this application, they are not within the NRO, and they would not have been impacted by that scenario in this aspect.
all right.
Mr. Chair, if I may, this is not an NRO application, just to state it simply.
Okay, thank you.
I'm being clear, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you.
I just want to ask you, the planned corridor development, I thought that included all of Sixth Avenue. I thought it was 125th, 123rd, Northwest 7th Avenue, Biscayne Boulevard, 119th. Am I missing something?
Not all of Sixth Avenue as you move southward.
What
It is a good portion of it as you go northward from 125th, going north, and then it probably terminates about at 130. I think it's Northeast 131st Street, somewhere around in there, maybe as high as 141st Street. It terminates, but it's not all the way up that,
I thought
up
it was
that.
all this, okay. all right. I know we had that Biscayne Park exclusion zone there for a block or
Mhm.
two, yeah,
Yeah, and this is
Okay.
close to that,
yeah, this
So
is,
this is what we're-
this is far enough away from the.
Yeah. something that we have to, that we did want to look at.
There's a lot of low rises over there.
Right. No, anyone else have a comment on this?
Not at this point in time, Mr. Chair. I'm just, you know, nominally concerned that we are seemingly giving them a blank check to change their mind in 6 months and propose a 110-story building.
Well,
which-
we can address that when we get to that portion of the, regardless, again, the item really isn't, he's not requesting that change, the petitioner.
No,
if I'm-
first off, but you see, by doing this,
No, I
he
understand.
puts himself in that position where he can,
Well,
rather easily.
if I may, Commissioner, we've actually already filed our conditional use permit application for the project that is described and discussed in our letter of intent. So that has already been submitted to the city. It can be confirmed by Mr. Cook. While I certainly understand your concern, and the extension of this overlay would technically allow the full development potential that the overlay offers, you know, my client does a lot of work in North Miami. He's committed to this city. We would, you know, we are committed to the project that's described in our letter of intent, as we've already submitted our conditional use permit application for that particular project, seeking this amount of units at this building height.
Can I wanted to bring something up. You know,
We still have, just a reminder, we do have to have a public hearing on this.
Well, they haven't made the presentation yet
Oh.
on the land use plan
so we
application.
can do that because
And,
I had some questions
also,
about that, but the
Mr. Chair,
opposite way.
I've
Yes.
seen blank checks. This would not be a blank check. City approval is
Yeah.
required for a conditional use application. So if they came in with a much higher project and the board, the commission collectively objected to it, they would make a recommendation of denial. You know, they can't just go in and get a building permit for it. There's
Right.
a lot of steps
But,
before they can do
yeah,
that project.
them filing for the conditional use permit, that has to come before us anyway, correct? So we have that.
Yeah, all right,
All right,
yeah,
okay.
Okay.
as long as
So-
we've raised the issue.
Yes, no, I know. So did you understand where we're coming from?
We're not
You
here
know,
to
that
surprise anybody.
We're well aware of how things could go the opposite directions
Sure.
of what we really would desire from the developer in this particular area of the city. So, you know, take that for how you would like to read into it. Mr. Counselor, for the Planning Commission, you're saying that he still has more of a, I thought this was his presentation, that's why I
He
wanted to go.
hasn't started it.
Well, no, for the second item.
First item, we're
We're-
still on the land use plan
We're on
map
the-
amendment.
Right,
Right.
okay.
That's right.
All
And-
right,
He
and-
hasn't
so
made
go
his
ahead and
presentation. It's
make-
been questions from the commission
I know, I'm
so
sorry.
far.
All right.
And Mr. Chair, my presentation will be the same for both items. I'm happy to be, I don't know procedurally if this works, to be sworn in now, before I give you my testimony on the project, or I can walk through it with you and then walk through it again under oath, if that's up to the board attorney.
I think we'll have you dance twice.
Okay, we'll dance twice.
So what do we do, Charlie?
We're
He's
going,
gonna do two presentations.
he's going to do two presentations.
Okay, so we
Just
vote
be
on this now
easier,
then?
though.
Yeah, well, not, as soon as, he has to do the
Oh, he's
presentation,
gonna
and
do
then
the
we have to do the
presentation.
public
Oh.
hearing on this. I know it's a little confusing because we're not used,
Alright.
this is kind of a rare, like, a kind of a hybrid situation that we've got here, and I want to make sure that we're taking the
Yeah,
proper
the-
steps in hearing it.
The issue is that there are different analyses that apply to the different items.
Right.
So it may be that different questions will come up. Staff report may be different.
Right.
Questions by, comments by citizens may or may not be different, but there's enough difference that we can do them separately.
Okay. Sir, may continue. I
Okay.
apologize for,
Nope.
for delving into this a little bit
That's what we're here for.
before
We're
we
here to,
started, so at least you might be a little bit more prepared with some of your parts of your presentation.
we're here
So-
to answer your questions. So our project's called Nomi Botanic, as you may have seen from our letter of intent. And as I said earlier, Mr. Zapata is with me, who is the representative of Botanic Venture LLC, the developer for this project. I'd like to invite him up just to say a couple words about himself and the work he's done in the community.
Good evening, Planning Commission Board.
Good evening. Name and address, please, for the
Federico
record.
Zapata, 156 Northwest 89th Street, El Portal, Florida, 33150. Since 2017, I have been focused in North Miami, turning overlooked areas into vibrant buildings. Our vision goes beyond just constructing buildings. We aim to craft and foster activation and sense of belonging. As a dedicated, albeit smaller developer, we prioritize accessibility, ensuring that our projects cater to a diverse demographic. Our focus, project land focus, it's in the heart of North Miami, downtown North Miami. That's where we believe the true potential lies. Through thoughtful design, as you can see in front of you, and community-centric development, we have seen firsthand the positive impact our buildings can have. I ask you to make a difference and join us in nurturing not just the physical landscape, but the spirit of a great city as well.
Thank you, sir.
So, Commission members, Mr. Cook showed you the site. We are at the southwest corner of Northeast 6th Ave and Northeast 123rd Street, which we consider a very important intersection to the city of North Miami, kind of a gateway to the downtown, a stone's throw from City Hall and the Museum of Contemporary Art, and also kind of the entryway to a significant commercial corridor. As you can see on the screen before you, the existing zoning and land use is R5 and medium density residential. More importantly, if you, oops, sorry. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. If you see just north of us to the northern half of the intersection, the PCD overlay already exists. To your question, Commissioner Each, this is the southern boundary of the PCD currently, and it covers the northeast and northwest half of this
Yeah.
intersection, but does not extend to the southern portion of this intersection. And all we're requesting is that the PCD overlay be extended over our assemblage circled in red on the screen before you. This is not a case of first impression. This is not establishing any sort of new precedent for the city of North Miami. There are several instances where R5 zone properties with medium density residential underlying land use have had the PCD overlay extended over them. And to a lot of the concerns of the commission that have already been expressed, this is not an ask for purposes of building height. See if I get this to work. Oh, going the wrong way. Bear with me. The request is for density, and we believe this project can be transformative for this intersection that we've identified as kind of the entryway to the city's downtown, and so close to City Hall and the Museum of Contemporary Art. And we think that the renderings that Mr. Zapata and his architect have put together kind of speak for themselves and would really be transformative to this intersection. This is a request for density, and I want to kind of walk through this slowly because this is super important. The shell of the building that you've seen in our letter of intent and that you will see in our conditional use permit, which has already been submitted, actually meets the zoning parameters of the R5 zoning district. The R5 zoning district allows building heights up to 75 feet. Our building is proposed at 46.5 feet, well below the 110 feet that would be permitted by the PCD overlay. We have no interest in going up to 110 feet. As you can see from the renderings, this project was very thoughtfully designed to be comparable to the scale of the existing development that is currently around that area. Open space requirements in the existing R5 zoning district requires 20% open space. This project as designed will provide 33.5% of open space. It meets all of the existing setbacks. Really, all we're asking for is this overlay be extended so that we can capture some additional density, so that we can provide a more diverse mix of units and unit types to this area, which we think needs housing, and that your staff, that city staff has recognized needs additional housing options. And also kind of, it fuels the intent of the PCD of this mixed-use downtown district, where the intensification from a density perspective feeds all of that commercial activity to our north. And let me just point out that your staff, as always, and Mr. Cook, Ms. Love, I echo all of your comments. They're very thorough. They're very good at what they do. They did a thorough analysis of all of the requirements for both for the land use application and the rezoning application, as did we in our letter of intent, and have, again, in detail in their staff report, recognize that our applications meet all of those criteria or exceed all of those criteria, which is why staff has recommended approval to you tonight in both of their staff reports, which are part of your package and part of the record. But I want to point out a few things that were in the staff report, because I just thought that they highlighted what this project offers to the community. The first is, and I'm just going to read from the slide in front of you, that 70% of the city's existing housing stock's over 50 years old, and that this amendment will increase the opportunity for development of needed modern housing within the city. Again, this is a density problem. We're just trying to increase the housing stock to the city of North Miami. The second quote from the staff report: the new quality design development anticipated by the city, which we appreciate that compliment, and we agree, we think that the renderings speak for themselves, as expressed in the purpose of the PCD overlay, is anticipated to positively affect the market value of the surrounding area. I don't want to understate the fact that this intersection is heavily trafficked. It's some of the first things people will see when they come to North Miami City Hall, and right now it needs a spark, and we think that this project will certainly add that spark, and I think it's something that the city of North Miami could be very proud of, right at the core, right at the gateway of its downtown. And finally, staff found that our applications were consistent with a number of the goals of the comprehensive plan, including encouraging mass transit, providing incentives for quality development, allowing a range of housing options, including much needed multifamily housing, which is exactly what we're providing, and aggressively pursuing redevelopment and revitalization opportunities. I think the commission recognizes this. This is currently vacant land. It's serving no purpose to the city as it stands today, and we're looking to add a significant contribution and development to the city with this project. And I'm happy to do this all again shortly, but that's my presentation. I'm here if you have any other questions for the land use component. I'm happy to answer them.
I hear none from the commission at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing, and we will allow you a rebuttal. Public hearing will be open, and anyone wishing to address this item will have 2 minutes to express their thoughts on it. Public hearing is now open. Please state your name and address when you come to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gio Darter. I am a resident of North Miami and have several properties here in the city, plus our cultural center that just opened on 125th and 4th Avenue, which is a project that dealt with a lot of passion, because it's a beautiful now landmark into entering in the city of North Miami. I also have the pleasure of knowing Federico Zapata. He actually was one of the people that helped us with our project. He was an advisor, and I'm also a partner in one of his smaller projects, which is 123 Nomi. I also love design. I come from a design background, and that's my neighborhood. I believe that District 3, the Griffin Park area, is quickly becoming a cultural destination, and we need to activate different areas, and in this case, Botanique, which is, as you see, beautifully designed, really will enhance that particular area, which, you know, sometimes dark, but it also is the star core of North Miami. It's where all the buses meet, And usually it's the entrance of Biscayne Park into our neighborhood, which is an upscale area, or attractive area, I should say, and comes into the Griffin Park area. This building, not only with its beautiful design, will bring some youth into our community too. I see much more young families coming in. I see people strolling their babies, and that's what we want with that Griffin Park area. So it also enhances my building, the Copper Bridge Foundation building, which is set for that. It's a community-based organization, and it's only going to help with the other 3 projects that we have in the neighborhood, which again will be beautifully designed and for housing, you know, and also cultural activity. I'm all about the arts, so I see it happening in our neighborhood. So I promote and sponsor your.
Thank you very much,
your
sir.
commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Commission. Edwin Alvarez, 555 Northeast 127th Street. So I'm a couple streets over from this proposal. And he stole the words out of my mouth, but I think for me, one of the things that's really important is what I have continued to see what Mr. Federico Zapata is capable of, and sort of the design, the intention, the right types of projects coming into the community. It's no secret that Mr. Federico is also a mentor of mine for some projects that I'm working on in the community as well. And I love what they're doing. The idea that that corner, which I pass by almost on a daily basis, may have a shining star as it transitions into Biscayne Park is really exciting. And the idea of bringing some new energy into that corner, for me, I'm all for it. So keep it simple. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to address the item? Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
I'm Felipe Lopez, residing at 2450 Northeast 135th Street, apartment 207, North Miami, Florida 33101. With my wife and soon-to-arrive daughter, I call North Miami home. I'm a construction professional who adores this city. It's where I want to live, work, and raise my family. Projects like Nomi Botanic offer homes and job prospects. I strongly support the approval of this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to address this item? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. To the petitioner, I don't think you had anything to rebut, unless you wanted.
Unless the commissioners have any other questions about this item, I'm
All
happy
right.
to answer them.
Then we'll go ahead and open up discussion to the commission, and we'll start with Mr. Besson down on the very end. Sir?
Quick question. Quick question. The project as it stands that you envision, the entrance to this location would be on Northeast 6th Avenue?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there any other entrances or exits?
No, I don't believe so.
No, those are primarily Northeast 6.
Okay.
All right.
I noticed that in the roadway, there are double yellow lines surrounding the property. If one wanted to make a left turn going north out of the property on Northeast 6th Avenue, how would that be accomplished?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. So I'm inside. Yeah. Say I'm inside your garage. I'm looking at a picture of it now, and I want to pull out the front. I'm pulling out onto Northeast 6th Avenue.
Correct.
And I want to make a left turn to go up to 125th Street or go, north on 6th Avenue. How would I accomplish that if there were 2 yellow lines there? Would I have to go south and then make a U-turn?
The vehicular entrance is further south into the block. So we will have to reach out to FDOT and see how we reconfigure the intersection as to see if we
Right.
can make left turn as you exit the building.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the process anyway, I believe, during
Right. During site plan
the,
Okay.
approval, we're going to have to work through all
in the next
these,
phase that they have to go through.
these, exactly.
That'll be have to be addressed, I'm
All right.
sure.
Thank you.
Mr.
You're welcome.
Seyfried.
Thank you.
No, I have no questions at this time. Having had all the other discussion, I'm prepared to move this item when all commissioners have spoken.
All right. Mr. McDermott?
Yeah, I really don't have any questions. I think it's a good unit and certainly a plus.
Is your mic on?
There you go.
And certainly a plus in regards to what it looks like now.
Thank you.
So I certainly support the item, so.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Each?
That area is blighted. It's horrible. You hit it on the head. You said it's a gateway. And when we get into the next phase of this, I want to discuss a few things with you because I was out there today and, you know, I've been in the city since 1970 and it's always been a blighted area in my eyes. And I think it's a project that I think we should move this item forward and have the next discussion.
Certainly.
I'll make okay, Charlie, I'm sorry.
Okay, Mr. Seifried, I think you're prepared to make a
Yes,
motion?
I move that we grant this request and incorporate this into the expanded zoning designation as requested.
And
It
I'll
would be-
second that.
Item has been,
Chair?
yes,
So,
yes, sir.
first it would be a recommendation to the city council, and it's not the zoning item, it's the land use plan map amendment.
All right, the land use plan map, all
Thank
right.
you.
We make a recommendation for approval.
All right, there's been a motion to recommend approval of the land use item. I have a second by Mr. McDermott. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approves 5-0. And we will go ahead and move on to the second phase of this
Get out of your way.
agenda, which is a companion item, I believe we could call that. Is that correct, Mr. Eld? And this will be quasi judicial, so anyone wishing to speak on this will have to be sworn in. And I believe, Mr. Held, you need to read the conditions into the record, please, sir?
Okay, I think I can condense it somewhat, and what we probably will do is incorporate the comments of the public so they don't need to repeat what was previously stated. But just to be clear, to discuss the evidence, the commission deliberates based upon the evidence presented, and decision must be based on competent substantial evidence, meaning based on the record, staff presentations, expert presentations, and fact-based comments by citizens according to the standards for approval set forth in the city code. So we have to swear everybody who's speaking, including staff, and also have disclosures by commission members if they've had any contacts prior to the hearing.
Okay.
Okay.
So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a disclosure before I read the item in and before we do the swearing in. Anyone having discussed this with anyone, part of, party of, part, none?
No.
Whichever, okay. So, Madam Secretary, could you be so kind, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, so,
Madam Secretary, if you could do the swearing in for us, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
All those that wish to speak, please stand so we can see who you are and record who will be speaking on this item. And Madam Secretary will now administer the oath.
Right, and
You wanna-
consider the oath to have included comments previously made that will be incorporated in the record.
Thank you. Oh, so all those who already spoke.
Right. So,
Okay. So, do you swear or affirm that the testimony and evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
very
may
good.
have a
Thank
seat.
you. Okay, so I'll go ahead and read the second item in. This will be PC 17-83. This is an ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, providing for text amendments to chapter 29 of the city of North Miami Code of Ordinance entitled Land Development Regulations by amending Article 4 zoning districts in the official zoning map to extend the boundary of the planned corridor development overlay district over 3 parcels of real properties of 12290 Northeast 6th Avenue, 12280 Northeast 6th Avenue, and 540 Northeast 123rd Street, identified with Miami-Dade folio numbers as follows: 06-2230-031-0020, folio number 06-2230-031-0030, and folio number 06-2230-031-001, totaling approximately 0.68 acres. In accordance with section 166.041, parentheses 3, close parentheses, C, close parentheses, Florida statutes 2023 and sections 3-1002, 3-1003, 3-1005 through 3-1007, and section 3-302 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development, North Miami Code of Ordinance, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulations, declaring this zoning map amendment to be consistent with the city comprehensive plan, further authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to effectuate the zoning map amendment, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, codification, and for an effective date. May we have staff report, please?
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you, Chair East. Derek Cook with the Development Services Department. As stated, the item before you is a request to extend the Northeast 6th Avenue Planned Corridor Development Overlay District, a zoning map amendment. It is in concert with the item that you just had before you, which was the future land use map amendment to extend the PCD. As with this, the properties that are in consideration are the three that was stated by the chair, which is 540 Northeast 123rd Street, 120 through 90 Northeast 6th Avenue, 12280 Northeast 6th Avenue. The three lots encompass approximately 0.68 acres. The property is zoned R5. R5 is the medium density residential, which allows for a maximum density of 16.3 units per acre and a maximum height of 75 feet. The requested overlay district will allow for, as discussed earlier, a maximum height of 110 feet and a maximum density of 100 units per acre. And this will only be activated through the conditional use permit process, which will require recommendation from this board to City Council for approval. So as discussed by the applicant, you know what they are planning to do, but the purpose of this is to allow you to know what is the maximum will be available with this extension, so you can fully understand the implications of the extension of that PCD. If you so choose to recommend this item be approved, the next steps are that it will require first reading by City Council at the March the 13th meeting, which will be anticipated, and with a second reading at the March 27th meeting. And after that, after 31 days, if City Council so choose to approve this amendment to the zoning map amendment, it will go into effect. Any questions?
Yes, I had asked before, this item would still, if it's going to be becoming a PCU, that it would come back to us in that form, correct?
That's correct, sir.
All right. And anything that happens between now and then would be subject to us looking at that point. So,
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, you have seen what the applicant intends to do, but to your concern, if they were to come in and revise this whole thing to increase the density and the height and all that, it would still have to come before you for your recommendation. And you would have already expressed to them your concern. And I think that it is important to understand that they are seeking potentially a low-rise thing that is commensurate with what is around them, what they have proposed through their presentation. I think it is compatible with that area, and as stated in the staff report, you have buildings there that are around them that's been more than 50 years since any new development has taken place there. And as you have right now, you have a vacant lot, and right across the street is another vacant lot that you have located there. So this would enhance the area, and I think it would be a good gateway as we move into the downtown area, traveling northward on Northeast 6th Avenue.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cook. At this point, you would like to have the petitioner address Commission? Good evening again. And for the record, because this is the second item,
Sure thing.
we need your name and address again. if
Good
you
evening,
don't
Mr.
mind.
Chair and Commissioners. Nick Noto from the law firm of Bills and Sundberg. Our office is at 1450 Brickell Avenue in Miami. Again, I am joined tonight by my client, Federico Zapata of Botanic Venture LLC, as well as my partner, Carter McDowell. For the Commission, I would just like to reiterate that the North Miami City staff is fantastic and thoroughly analyzes all of these applications. This is no exception. They've presented to this commission a very detailed staff report that went through all of the criteria for rezoning, found that our applications met or exceeded all of those criteria, and have recommended approval. That is part of your report in the record here before you tonight, as well as our letter of intent. I am happy to go through my presentation again. I'm also happy to incorporate my previous testimony. Similarly, we did the public comment at the discretion of Mr. Held and Mr. Chair. And otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Certainly, if you had any other items you wanted to hold off on until this presentation, feel free to, let us know.
I think we
make sure
thoroughly.
that you covered all your items.
So I think we covered all of the items I had, but if there's any other questions, this is essentially just part 2, companion application, as you stated, Mr. Chair. We need to amend both the future land use and the zoning to allow us to come back before you for our conditional use permit to build the project. So we will be back with more better, pretty pictures and more design-related plans for your review and comment and recommendation.
Certainly. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. At this time, public hearing is now open. And again, as I stated before, you will have a rebuttal period after the public hearing.
Okay, and as previously announced, members of the public who have made their comments for the land use plan item, those comments will be reincorporated by reference for this item, so you don't need to repeat what you said previously.
Right. Okay. Any additional comments that anyone had addressing this item? Now's your chance. You'll have 2 minutes. Okay, I see none. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. And since there is no rebuttal, we'll go ahead and move back to the commission for their input and questions. I'll start down at Mr. Each's end this time, sir. You have the floor.
Well, I agree with what you said about this being the gateway. Those buildings over there right now are very shabby. I mean, let's face it, it looks like hell over there. And you're limited yourself to 3 floors. I believe actually 4 floors with the parking underneath. And I want to get a grip on that. I have no objections. Personally, I was looking at that area. I went over there today, and I don't know why we don't go higher. I quite honestly, I don't know why we're not going higher. And I'd like to know what kind of amenities we're going to put into. Are we going to put a pool in there? Are we going to have a lot of beautiful landscaping? What are we going to do to attract families, good quality people to come in there that want to stay there and have some amenities. You know, you can go up and down Sixth Avenue, and God knows I patrolled it for a lot of years, from about 147th Street South to 121st Street, and you see most of these low-rises up there, and we just had a project come about 3 months ago, where we're gonna put up an 8-story building on one of the small lots over there with a unique parking garage system in there, and they're gonna have a rooftop garden and a beautiful pool up there. And that's on, what, I think it was 8th Avenue and about, 6th Avenue and about 146th Street, I believe. And I'm saying to myself, I'm looking at this project today, and I want to quote your words, this is a gateway to the city. You know, you guys are going to start the ball rolling. If you put up something spectacular, that's going to catch on. You know, I like to see a lot of glazing. I like to see new architecture, glass, beautiful balconies, a lot of landscaping, pool on the roof. You know, and I don't know, and I'm saying to myself, why the heck are we fighting just for 4 stories over there? You got 3 stories over there now on those buildings across the street. You got them all up on 6th Avenue, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's terrible. It's time that they go. You know, you could put up something spectacular there, we're not in the design we're not in the design phase yet, are we? I mean, I seen you put down here, you're going to have, what is it, 17 one-bedroom apartments?
Yeah, I believe there's 18. I think I got that off. I think there's 6
18,
per floor.
And you total of 48 apartments? And I like to see how how the building is gonna be placed, where you're gonna do the parking. Are you gonna have a pool? What are the amenities in there?
Absolutely.
The spaces of the apartment? You know, that's what I really wanted to get. I didn't get a feel for that in this.
Yep.
You know,
And we
but I do agree, and the people that came here and spoke, I know the quality of projects that you guys are involved with. And I know the feeling that you have. It's a I can feel it. This is, I gotta tell you, I've been in the city since 1970, and I don't mean to pontificate, but it's a feeling that I have, along with you guys, that I see change coming for the best. And I don't wanna kick the can down the street and say, well, let's just let it 4 stories. This is the way it was for the last 50 years. This is the way it should be. There's not, other than Biscayne Park, we don't have any residential over there. Individual homes. We have all apartments over there. And quite frankly, they're dumps. I mean, they look like hell. It's an embarrassment when you leave Biscayne Park and you come into North Miami and you see these shabby businesses. So when you guys came to town, I'm saying, hey, this is great. And I'd like to see you go higher. I'd like to see you put more juice into the project. I really would. You guys got a lot of talent, and you could really set the city off. And that's my commentary.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry to pontificate, but.
Thank you. Thank you.
I haven't had a drink tonight.
Right. Thank you, Ken. Mr. McDermott, your comment, sir?
Yeah, I look forward to this project. I think it'll be a good one, and I look forward to making a motion to approve when everybody's finished. Again, look forward to you when you come back with the final design.
Thank you very much. So do we.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Seyfried?
You know, I would not want to see 110 stories there. But having said that, I'm very much supportive of the comments that Kenny each made. I think you could do better, you could move higher without creating a skyscraper. 6 floors of residence and 2 floors of parking would be a very, very nice project and allow you to incorporate some very nice amenities into that project. I don't think I'd be opposed to a somewhat larger project. I wouldn't want 110 stories.
Right.
But having said that, it is a gateway.
110 feet.
Yeah, 110 feet, sorry.
Which is,
Although,
Which
you
is-
know where they're building in downtown Miami.
yeah,
it's
which would
like-
be 11 or 12 stories at that
Yes,
point. if you
I
do
think,
the
you
math.
know, you wanna look at that and feel more challenged and creative in what you're proposing. It's a nice picture, nothing wrong with a small building. But the opportunity is there for public art, and I don't see I would wanna see you come back and propose public sculpture, propose some more creative design elements. I like the fact you have balconies. This is South Florida. Outdoors is where things are at here in South Florida. And today, you know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, balconies were considered luxury. Realistically, in South Florida, if you don't have a balcony, there's no point in putting up the building. Balconies are necessary. People need to be outside and experience the fresh air. And we understand that the traffic issue of accessing Sixth Avenue without signalization, that's going to be a bigger problem as more of these projects come online. And so that's something the DOT needs to be mindful of.
Right.
Having said that, I could see something twice the height and, you know, 2 floors of parking, or however that might reasonably work out.
Right.
You want to see designated parking for bicycles. You want to see designated parking for motor scooters. And these things all take up space. And it's going to be hard to do that with just 1 floor allocated to covered parking. So, you know, I'm in sympathy with Commissioner Reach on this one. I think you could think bigger as a gateway project. This is urban infill, but it's not gateway.
Okay.
And you want to transition from urban infill into gateway thinking and see what you might do with that. But that's just my feelings. I'll support the a motion to approve the recommendation here, move it forward, but I would hope you'd come back to us in 6 months with something a little more elaborate,
Okay.
for lack of a better term.
Thank you.
All right?
Thank you, Mr. Zyfri. Mr. Besson?
Well, I had jumped ahead earlier and asked about access to the property. Couple of other things. Is there going to be a lobby in this building, or is it just directly an elevator from the
No,
garage floor?
you enter through Northeast 6th Avenue.
Yes, sir.
There's, if you look at the plans, and you will see when we go for the conditional
Mhm.
use, you have a 10-foot wide sidewalk versus the 6-foot wide required. It's gonna be a
Uh-huh.
plaza in the front. Once you cross that plaza, there's gonna be an decorated arcade inviting you to the building.
Mhm.
There's gonna be a small lobby area in that building where you can have the stairs, mailbox, and the elevator.
Right.
Is there a front desk there or anything? It's just a lobby? On-
Just,
on-
just the lobby, no front desk.
Yeah. Okay. Out of curiosity, I like your picture, and I do a lot of gardening. Are you planning on putting plant material hanging off the facade on the top roof, the overhang?
Yes, correct. We are actually working right now with the landscape architect on the specific type of plant that will make that elevated and hanging planter work.
Okay. Just be careful of your roof. It doesn't leak.
Correct. So it's not actually over the roof, it actually hangs over the parapet,
Yes.
where we looked into fiberglass pre-manufactured that you can hang and attach, so it's not impacting, as you say, the roof structure.
That's very nice. I like that very
Thank you.
much. It's a very nice project, and we're looking forward to seeing what you're going to come back with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward.
Thank you, Mr. Besson. I have a couple observations and questions. First question, are you utilizing the roof at all for tenants to use, or is this just going to be roofing with your air conditioning and?
Roofing, and what we did is decorated the crown with the landscape by the name Botanic. So
Right.
ample space around the building is screening that parking on the ground, which older buildings don't do, and decorating the top
Right.
of the building.
Yeah, that looks like, that looks like a vine. There would be some small maintenance to keep that from growing all the way down to to the gentleman's window below there.
I
or
don't
person's-
remember the exact botanical name, but it's
Yeah.
actually a plant that grows. It doesn't hang too much
Doesn't
from
hang.
it. It kind of grows up a little bit and then it hangs
Right.
out of the parapet.
It can be
doesn't need that
maintained.
maintenance.
Yeah, without a lot of maintenance to it. It can-
Correct.
All right. One of the, what I was alluding to with when we started off this question, and you probably wonder why I brought up the 110 feet. Like Mr. Each, if anybody on this commission, I'm a big fan of tall buildings. I love the big skyscrapers you see in Boca, on Brickell and everything else. My concern with this, however, was, and by the way, I was on the planning commission that approved the height being raised in some of the overlay districts and everything. What I think got past a lot of us is the fact that in certain areas you have to start looking at having height buffering between residential areas and smaller rise buildings that are already constructed, and sort of have a stair approach to your main avenue to have where I have no problem with having a 20-story building on 125th Street because it's a downtown area. But I had envisioned when we had all these earlier discussions, Mr. Seifried might have been on the commission then, is that we would use deliberate speed in letting everybody start to want to put up higher buildings closer to an area that really needed to be considered a buffer for lower rise and residential areas, and to head off any problems with the neighbors who would be close by there who would object to a very, very tall building. We've run across that problem with a couple of projects in San Souci that wanted to build close to their neighborhoods, and those pretty much got shot down with the height limitation. Contrary to Mr. Each, who, I respect your views because we share same views about wanting tall buildings. I had specific concerns about how close this was to the Biscayne Park area with kind of a big, all of a sudden you have 110 stories or 110 feet is pretty high. So I was encouraged when I discovered that you're putting in 4 stories and limited that and at least recognize the fact that a big 5 or 6 more stories would be a big difference in creating this monolith kind of overshadowing and sticking out within an area that's close by, that's low rise or mid rise in proportion to that building. So that was one of my concerns when I saw this come before us, and then when I saw your plans. So, contrary to, I would probably not urge any further height increase, but at the same time, the points about it being aesthetically enhancing to the neighborhood, whatever you could add to make it stand out as far as something that is architecturally pleasing to everyone. That's pretty hard to be. I would be terrible on an architectural board because anybody else, you may have 5 people that have different opinions about what they think is architecturally tasteful, and but I think the direction that this panel goes toward is that we don't fall into cookie cutter designs that are easy to build and functional and provide the need for housing, but we also want to see some architectural enhancements to projects when they come before us, regardless if they're housing or mixed use or whatever. So that's something that I hope you take with you tonight if you decide you see something that you would want to try to improve upon. And I think you've heard heard some other voices from this committee, from this planning commission, that there is concern that we always have something that will come out that will be pleasing and be proud to have in our city. So with that, yes, Mr. McDermott?
I'd like to move approval of the item.
Mr. McDermott moves for approval. Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Each. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great evening.
And good luck with your projects, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I want to ask, what is the height on the Biscayne Park exclusionary zone? What, do you recall? I don't recall off the top of my,
35 feet.
35 feet,
Mhm.
okay. And this is going to be, this project was 40,
4 stories, could be 40
okay,
feet,
so,
somewhere in there.
Yeah,
all right, so we could,
And they
yeah.
fall outside of that
Yeah,
exclusionary
four stories
zone.
could, 4 stories could be 9 feet per story, so
Yeah.
it could even fall below that.
I was thinking something like 2 stories apart,
Yeah.
rooftop
Right,
garage,
right.
rooftop pool.
But my understanding is we had allowed projects in the past that had 4 stories, and we didn't include the 2-story or the parking
Yeah,
space
yeah.
underneath it. So we gave wiggle room to that.
And what happens is, I agree with you 100%. You don't want to make this look like the rest of Sixth Avenue. It's
Right.
all 2, 3-story buildings, parking
Right.
all over the place, nothing of appeal. This will be hopefully a good
Okay,
project.
I'm going to go ahead and move to the conclusion of the meeting. Let's ask for any committee reports from the, did you have from staff?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Any old business that we need to address? New business? New business, I believe we already discussed the date for the next meeting, March 3rd?
March the 5th.
Okay.
Okay.
Under new business, we've had kind of an ongoing inquiry going with the city's park department because of it being involved in the master plan and everything. We had raised concerns about the progress that's being made with Cagney Park and also some of the tot lots, namely the Bree Swept lot. And we were to get some follow-up from the Parks Department as to how far along we are with renovations on those 2 parks.
Actually, Ms. Christine Carney, who is the Director of Parks and Recreation, will be giving you a briefing at the next meeting.
Excellent. Okay, so she must have
She's
adhered
already
our
on
request from
the
earlier.
agenda.
Thank you so much for following up on that. Appreciate it very much.
Charlie, Mr. Chair, if I may, that raises an interesting observation on my part. I attended a resiliency workshop that was at the Galvin Community Center. I think it was in December. And they raised a number of interesting points that you might call low-hanging fruit, things that could be done very cost-effectively, having to do actually with art in public places. One of the things that they proposed was taking the 3 I-95 overpasses, or in this case the underpasses, and painting the pillars and installing lighting under the underpasses to make them an artistic element.
I thought we had done that at one time. with the
Yeah,
lighting.
it never got legs. And then they also proposed painting crosswalks, and I thought that Griffin Park would be a great place for painting crosswalks. And they wouldn't even have to be at corners. They could be done in the middle of a block somewhere. Very cost effectively. Again, we're already doing a lot with art and design, and these are things that could be easily worked into a city budget.
Well, we have the Parks Director coming to us the next meeting. That
Well,
would be a great,
I raised
item
this
to bring that up.
so that our secretary can convey these thoughts to the Parks Director and seek a sense of direction. And since we're doing that, one other thing comes to mind when we talk about issues that probably tie into the parks, and Mr. Reach, you probably would be interested in this as well, are Veterans Memorial Clock and the flagpoles around it. As you know, we now have another branch of the armed services in the Space Force. And it's time for the city to analyze the cost of another flagpole and flag to incorporate the Space Force into our Veterans Park area. But I don't know if that comes under Public Works or under Parks and Rec, and I kind of think that would be a point for the Parks and Rec director to address when they're here next month. So could you pencil that in as an item for her to, or him, whoever, to be able to directly address? I suspect it would take another funding cycle to get it done, but certainly it wouldn't be too difficult to get a cost estimate within the current year, and it could be addressed perhaps in the next budget year.
Right, anything else?
No, those were the
Thank you.
main points. Try to follow
Right.
up on the resiliency workshop and
Yes.
enhancing our Veterans Memorial with
Yes,
another
yes, Mike,
flagpole.
Mike, I'm sorry.
Yes, speaking of that kind of thing, and it's probably more Public Works, I've had several people call me in reference to the entrance signs into the city, which evidently I went and took a look, and yeah, they look pretty bad. Again, it's something that really speaks to the city with people who are coming into our city for the first time. And it's certainly cost effective to put in some new, nice looking entrance signs into the city. So that
Yeah,
could
the-
be Parks and Rec or Public Works.
The blue paint on those signs has faded rather badly.
Mike, didn't we bring that up at the CRA? Didn't we have a design or something, as I
No,
recall?
we mentioned it, the CRA and it was not in the capacity of the CRA. That's not what they do.
I thought they were
No.
funding something there.
No.
Who came up with that design? What meeting was that at? We were.
Oh, that was actually done a really long time
Yeah.
ago.
No, just as recently in the last few months back, or maybe the last year or so, I thought we discussed
No.
something on 8th Avenue and 135th
Well,
Street.
We could ask,
Yeah.
we could ask staff if they could
Yeah.
find out who's
Yeah.
behind that.
Yeah.
'Cause we
And
brought-
give you
I know
some
we brought
direction
that
on
up.
that.
We
The
said they
signs
were-
are looking really tacky,
Yeah, they really are.
you know, and
All
to
right.
be polite about it.
All right, anything else, gentlemen, before we call it a night?
No,
None?
that's it for me.
Okay, I move for adjournment.
Second?
And second it. Meeting is adjourned.
Do we need actually to have a motion to adjourn, or do we just declare adjournment?
Do need a
Motion to
motion.
adjourn.
Yes.
Coin flip.
I don't know.
If you read the fine
Because,
lines
you see,
of the Robert's Rule.
When I
of Order-
was chair, we didn't call
Yes,
for
I
a
know.
motion. We got to the end of the agenda, meeting's
We learned,
adjourned.
yes.
It
Well, I
might be
just wanted to
discretion
make
of
sure
the
that we
chair, but
covered,
it's,
Mr.
it's a
former Mr. Chair.
collegial thing that if somebody wasn't ready to leave, they could